Hey everyone, this is Kelsey Balt. Welcome to Devoted Cowgirl, a podcast where I talk about my life as a Christian horsewoman. Every week we'll dive into topics like growing your faith, improving your barrel racing, and how those things intertwine in my life. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm super glad you're here. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Devoted Cowgirl. This week I am going to talk to you guys a little bit about a book that I've been reading the last few days, and it's called The Champion's Mind, and it is written by Jim Afremow. I'm probably butchering that, but I will put a link to the book in the show notes on the website, so you can find it at devotedcowgirl.com. So if you go there after you listen, I'll put a link to the book that I've been reading called The Champion's Mind in there. And so it's all about basically everything that I've been working on the past few years with my mental game. And it's cool to be listening to this audiobook now, down the road from where I was 3 years ago, because I can see how I'm doing the things the book is talking about now, and I wasn't doing those things before. So it's been really cool. I don't say that to mean that I know everything, because I don't. And it's been a great learning experience. And I've still picked up and learned a ton from listening to the audiobook. But it's fun listening to it from a different perspective, because I am implementing these things more now than I was 2 years ago or 3 years ago. And the difference in my performance with my horses is really cool to compare my mental game with how I'm performing with my horses. And so the thing that really inspired this episode, I'm sure if you've listened to any self-help or confidence books or read them, it's The Tale of Two Wolves. And it's a Cherokee proverb or story. And there's several different versions, but the one that I really like, I'll read it to you guys. It says, "One evening, an elderly Cherokee brave told his grandson about a battle that goes on inside people. 'My dear one, the battle between two wolves is inside us all. One is evil. It is anger, envy, jealousy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, and ego. The other is good. It is joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith.' The grandson thought about it for a moment and then asked his grandfather, 'Which wolf wins?' The old Cherokee replied, 'The one you feed.' And so I touched on this a couple weeks ago about thinking about how you talk to yourself. And I heard the author of the book, or the narrator of the books, read the section that talked about the two wolves, and the line, 'the one you feed,' just like really struck me, because on my journey to self-confidence and where I'm at now, where I finally feel like I've got a little bit of swagger when I pull in places and feel like I actually deserve to be there, the difference in how I have maintained my thoughts, because rather than feeding into the negativity and the worry and the doubt, I've started telling those thoughts to shove it, which is funny because I remember writing a post right before my journey really took off on the mental health, and I really started making some tangible changes in it. I wrote a post that said my advice to people was to tell those negative thoughts to just shove it. And so learning, or what I've learned over the past few years, and I'm kind of coming out the other side of, and I'm still not perfect by any means. It's always a process, and I'm always growing and learning. But the thing that's really stuck with me is the thoughts that you feed, or the wolf that you feed, is the one that's going to win. And your body is a self-fulfilling prophecy. I know I said that a couple weeks ago, but I really want to put some oomph behind that and really remind you guys that the way you talk about yourself is how you're going to perform. And I say that from experience, because when I was jokingly self-deprecating and believing the doubts that I had about myself and how I didn't deserve to be somewhere, or I couldn't hang with certain people, or maybe I wasn't doing my horse justice, and all those thoughts that I had, I believed them, and therefore I manifested them into coming true. And I've flipped my mindset to celebrating the wins and the positives, and that has really made a difference for me, because when you start celebrating the they just keep coming. And another chapter in the book talked about the ability of champions to move on and let go of the negative things that happened, because a good athlete lives in the here and now, because that is the only thing that's real. The future is a maybe, could be, might be. Hasn't actually happened yet. And the past, that already happened, and you can't do anything to change it. So the only thing you can affect and you can change right now is the present and what's happening right now. And so in the book, it talked about your ability to let things go makes a huge difference in your ability to be a champion, because the champions let the mistakes go and move on to the next play. And they're talking about athletes that play typical sports, I guess. I don't want to say normal, but, basketball, softball, baseball, tennis, the stuff that people play with balls. And not horses, and not so thinking about the ability to let things go and knowing how much of a difference that has made for me on my journey, I distinctly remember the run where everything clicked and I made that decision, and I know exactly where I was, and I know who was there, and I still remember the run, but I don't dwell on it. And it was a run at the Clark County Saddle Club up in Vancouver area, and it was a few years ago, and I was running Blitzen, and I think we hit 2, might have been only 1 barrel, but it was awful. And the worst part about it was I went into the day super confident, expecting to make great runs and do really well, and then it sucked. And my parents were there, and I remember being so frustrated and not looking forward to hearing everybody be all bummed out that I didn't have a great run and rehashing everything that happened. And so I got back to the trailer, and my mom handed me my phone, and I said, well, on the way back to the trailer, I pouted a little bit, and I was pissed because I went in there and I was expecting to do better than I did, and I didn't. And I blacked out again, and I didn't ride my horse well, and I was ticked. And so I got off my horse because I don't want to take it out on her. It wasn't her fault that I didn't perform well. So I got off my horse, and I stewed, and anybody that walked past me probably thought I was ready to go murder somebody, because I'm sure I had a severe case of resting bad word face, because I was not happy. And so I allowed myself the walk from the arena to the trailer to sulk about it and be angry. And I walked up to the trailer, and my mom and dad were sitting there, and I said, nobody say anything. Here's what's going to happen. I said, I'm going to watch the run one time, and then I'm going to delete it, and we're not going to talk about it ever again. Because I had a habit of watching those runs over and over and over again and dwelling on them and trying to figure out what I did wrong and looking at all my mistakes and then beating myself up for it. And instead, what I needed to do is watch the run once and say, yep, that sucked, and then let it go. And don't think about it ever again. Because if you think about all the ways you messed up or you're going to mess up, then guess what? That's what's going to happen. If you go into the arena thinking negatively and saying don't hit barrels, guess what? You're probably going to hit the barrels. And so instead, go in there with a positive affirmation and think about the things that you're going to do right, because then that's going to happen. And so that run I made at the Clark County Saddle Club there in Vancouver was really a big turning point for me, because that was the first time I made the conscious decision to leave something in the past and not dwell on the mistakes that I made. And that was really a big moment for me to make that decision. And ever since then, I've done the same thing. If I have a really bad run, I will watch the video one time, literally one time. I don't rewind it. I don't watch it over and over again for a few minutes. I watch it one time and then I delete it and I move on, because I don't want to dwell on the things that went poorly. The runs I want to dwell on are the ones that were awesome and that I rode really well and my horses performed really well. Because if you keep dwelling on the good things, you're going to manifest those things. And so whatever you think about is what you're going to become. And we talked about that last week on the last episode about who you spend time with. But the same goes for your thoughts. If you're consistently thinking about how much you're going to mess up and how much you suck, guess what? You're going to mess up and you're going to suck. But if you are consistently thinking about your good runs and how well they went and what it felt like when your horse worked really nice and you rode her really nice, and how it felt to put all those things together, and you know, what it felt like to place the highest you've ever placed. And if you channel those feelings, you're going to keep making them happen. And so Fallon Taylor talks about it all the time, about manifesting what you want to happen. And it's not going to happen overnight. Like, you can't will your 4D horse into a 1D horse in a week. But if you keep thinking positively and remember what the good things felt like, and like I said at the beginning, if you feed the good stuff, that's what's going to win out. But if you continue feeding the negativity and feeling sorry for yourself and talking about how poor of a rider you are and how crappy that last run was and how you suck and you're probably never going to get there, and you're probably never going to get there if you keep talking like that. But if you knock that off and you start talking positively, even if it's little bits, that's why I always say strive for progress, not perfection. Because if you learn how to celebrate the little steps of progress, that 1% better, I said it before, 1% better every day for a year is 365% better by the end of the year. So if you just strive for those baby steps and you celebrate the little wins, you're going to go a heck of a lot farther in your career, whatever it might be, whether we're talking barrel racing or in life. But if you celebrate the wins and you stay positive, that stuff is going to keep happening to you. Like I said, we are a self-fulfilling prophecy. What we talk about, what we think about, who we hang out with, that's what we become. So if you can find a way to, like the book says, think like a champion, you're going to become one day. And everybody's version of a champion is completely different. So that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to go win the gold buckle at the NFR. Maybe that's not what you want to do. Maybe you want to consistently run at the top of the 3D, and that's totally okay too. And if you feel like a champion there, hallelujah, then you're a winner. And so just remember to think like a champion all the time. And like I said before, I will put a link to that book in the show notes on the website. So feel free to check it out if you want. That is all I have for this week. If you guys are running, go kick butt, manifest those positive things happening, and remember to strive for progress, not perfection. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave us a review on your listening app of choice. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and you can also check out our website, www.devotedcowgirl.com, for any important show notes and some other updates. I'll see you next week.